Today we have a 2007 Ford Fiesta Z-Tech S, which is fitted with the 1.6 petrol Duratec engine, and it's got roughly 60,000 miles on the clock. The car's come in mainly because the customer is having to top up the coolant quite regularly. So we've got a bit of an issue somewhere, and we're going to see if we can find out where it is. Yeah, as you can see, the level's right down low there in the bottle. Should be up to just below this rib. There's a minimum and maximum mark, conveniently located just down in there where it's difficult to see. But we'll have a look over the system, and hopefully we'll be able to find some pink staining, a leak. While we're under the bonnet, there's a few favourite things on a Fiesta that may leak. As we recorded in a previous video actually on a Fiesta, the coolant bottles, sometimes they get a bit brittle and they can crack. This one has got a few marks on it, but I can't see any antifreeze residue on the top or any staining around it to indicate that it's been dripping. You've also got the water pump, which you can't really see from the top, is buried down here under the alternator area. There's also a thermostat housing, a plastic one, under the alternator above the air conditioning pump, so that's a bit difficult to see as well. Obviously you've got the radiator at the front here, but I think really we need to take it up in the air and have a look from underneath, because any leak is going to naturally drip down off the bottom of the car, and hopefully we'll see a trail of antifreeze leading to the defective part. Now we're up on the ramp, straight away I can see an issue. It's quite clear. We've got all the pink antifreeze staining here. Now this bolt that you can see there that's covered in pink gunk, that's actually the bottom corner of the plastic thermostat housing, which it's not uncommon on a lot of cars for the plastic housings to eventually give way. So it looks like that's what we're going to be changing today. Other things to look at are very difficult to see, but up here there is the water pump. It's very difficult to see from here with this cover on. But the telltale signs would be pink staining around the bottom of the engine here. When the pump leaks, it just naturally runs straight down and it will drip off of one of these here. We've also got the radiator here and the bottom hose. Plastic cover there for the cooling fan, but you can look along the bottom edge of the radiator again for pink stains. If your car's got pink antifreeze, obviously. It might have blue, but a majority of them are pink. And the top hose up there, but that all looks okay. That's your top hose. There's not a great deal around the back. There's a couple of heater hoses, which again are quite difficult to see, but they are up there. But really, you've just got to have a good look round and see if you can find any antifreeze staining anywhere, which fortunately on this one is quite obvious what's leaking. I'm going to take this lower cover off here. I'm just going to have a look at the water pump, make sure that's okay. I'm pretty sure it is, because there's no signs of any staining around the bottom of the engine at this end, but I'll just show you where it is anyway. So 2 screws, you can use a flat blade or you can use a Torx 30 on those. Now these sometimes break because they get a bit brittle. The plastic clips here that hold the pipe in. That one's out. That's the cover off. Turn that wheel around. Right, so this pulley here is the water pump pulley. So that aluminium part there is your water pump. And you would definitely see pink staining on the bottom here. They tend to weep out of a little breather hole when they leak, but that all looks fine. So we'll go ahead and drop the car down and start dismantling. As you can see, it's quite difficult to get to the thermostat housing because you've got the air conditioning pump here and the alternator above it, so it's kind of sandwiched between the two. Before I let the ramp down, I'm going to put this axle stand underneath with a block of wood on it. I just want it to line up with the sump really to support the engine, because I will be taking the mount off of the front. Obviously not everybody's got a ramp like this. You could use a trolley jack with a piece of wood on it, just slide it under the car and rest it under the sump, jack it up to support it. So we'll drop the car down now. I might have to reposition that as it gets closer. So it may seem a bit strange, but I'm actually going to take this headlamp out. It just lets a bit more light in and you can see a bit more of what's going on. Relatively straightforward to get out. I do need to pop this grille from its mount at the top there. Because you've got a screw right there, which, a bit like the bottom cover screws, you can use a flat blade screwdriver or a Torx 30. Try not to drop that and lose it. That one. One there. Should just wriggle out of there now. So you can see this bottom corner, it's got a little slot here which slides onto this peg here, so it's just a case of pulling it forward. And the multi-plug should have a little tab there which you should be able to push down. I tend to always push the plug on while I'm pushing it down. It makes it easier to release, takes the pressure off. So that's it, one headlamp removed, and as you can see, you can just generally see a bit more what's going on in the area. You might be able to put your hand through here to support the alternator, and I think we've got to take a bolt out anyway to get that alternator out. And actually it looks a bit like there is some staining around here, so I will have a better look at this bottle as well. Maybe this clip needs replacing. I'm going to start by removing this header tank or expansion bottle, mainly because I need to access the engine mount to be able to lift the engine up, and also I want to have a better look at it, because it may well be that this is also leaking. So we've got one 10mm bolt here. I better put a tub underneath because we're going to lose the coolant sooner or later. Make a bit of a mess. Down the back, it's you'll see when I get it out. It's got a slot there which slides over this kind of peg or arm. Oh yeah, and you can see it's a bit wet underneath here. So I think we've probably got an issue with the bottle as well. I'll take this pipe off. You've got two little tabs you push in. Now that bottom one, clearly we're going to lose the coolant when I take that off. I'll just grab some pliers. Yeah, it's definitely got a crack there. Probably a few others as well. I did notice on this side, it's got a few little splits as well. So I will recommend a coolant bottle as well on this job. I'll put this down, let it drain out. So I will take this power steering bottle out as well. This is quite an easy one to get off, the power steering bottle. Just pull it up. It's just got those two rubber mounts that slide into slots, and it's got a peg at the bottom that locates into there. So I want to get this out. We've also got a cable tie here, which is just holding the pipe away from the drive belts. So I'll snip that off. Mustn't forget to replace that. And there is a clip on the inner wing that the pipe goes in. Hopefully we can just move that to one side. Don't have to take any pipes off of it. That'll do. Okay, next we will, I think, take the engine mount off. And the engine is supported with the axle stand, the block of wood. So I'm going to take this whole mount out. It's all 15mm fittings. You've got 3 15mm nuts up here and 3 15mm bolts down there. Studs come out with that one, doesn't matter. Oh, all the studs have come out, that's fine though. One engine mount covered in antifreeze, so that bottle has definitely got an issue as well. Next stage, I would say, would be to get this alternator out of the way. We're going to try and do the whole job from the top, so shouldn't really need to get underneath again. I'm going to take this little bracket off that holds the power steering bottle. Probably isn't completely necessary, but I think it'll make it easier to get the alternator out, and I know I'll end up cutting myself on that if I don't remove it. So it's only one 8mm bolt. Now, when you're working with electrical components, if you're sensible, you should really just take the negative lead off of the battery and put it to one side, which will completely disable the system. However, I know this guy doesn't have the radio key code, so I'm going to carefully do it without disconnecting the battery. So this is a positive terminal. Just got to be careful not to touch anything metal from that to anything else metal on the car, effectively short circuiting it. Now what I have got is just a rubber boot to put over the cable, which will stop it from shorting out on anything. I'll put a bit of tape on there so it doesn't fall off. That's it. Then I can tuck that out of the way without fear of it sparking on anything. Right, so now that's off. I need to get this alternator off next, which we've got two fixings up the top here, and we've got one down the bottom there. They're all 15mm. So I'll see if I can loosen them all first anyway. Well, actually the top two I can take off with a gun. I do need to take that stud out of there as well. You'll see why. Next size down. It's like a female Torx socket. I have seen people use regular sockets on those. You just got to be a bit careful if you haven't got one of these. Use a regular socket, but you know there's more chances of it slipping. It's an E8 socket or a spanner. And not normally that tight. So the drive belts on these, they're what's called stretch belts. Unfortunately, there's no tensioner. So when they're fitted, you have a tool which goes over the bottom pulley, and basically you kind of ease the belt on while you're turning the engine round, and it feeds it on. Yeah, I don't know. Pros and cons, I guess, but I prefer to have a tensioner where you can slacken it off and work on it. So this belt, I'm going to take this bolt out of here, loosen the bottom one, then the alternator should hopefully pivot round and allow me to remove that belt. And that's the reason why I took the stud out. If I didn't take that out, it wouldn't be able to pivot. Oh, there it goes. Slip the belt off of there now, and that can just hang down there out of the way. Hopefully I can get this bolt out on my fingers. There's one more multi-plug to take off the back. It does make life so much easier just removing that headlamp. For the sake of the 3 screws and 1 plug, you might as well get it out of the way. And we've got the plug at the top there, which has a little tab that you push in. Yeah, nice and easy. I think I'll get a little screwdriver, well, so little. That's it, just to ease it up while I was holding the tab in. And make sure I don't lose that little rubber seal off of there. That probably wants pushing back down. It's just to stop any moisture getting into the electrical connection. Don't really want to lose that. Right, now hopefully we can wriggle this out of here. That's it, one alternator. So I guess if you need to change an alternator, this is you know, very similar job. But we're going a little bit further. As you can see there, some of the pink staining around this housing, that's your thermostat housing, you can see. So I should have said, as you can see, the engine is lifted up higher now. But clearly you can do that once the engine mounts off and you've got your jack underneath with a block of wood, you can jack it up, which just makes access slightly easier. This is the new thermostat housing. It's not a genuine Ford one, this is an aftermarket one, which you should be able to pick up for around £30. And what generally goes wrong with these, as you can see the rubber seal there, that little plastic lip around the inside, it kind of perishes and then it cracks, breaks away, and the seal slips inside there and you get a leak. I think first I should take these two pipes off, let the water drain out, and then we'll have a go at undoing the bolts. So you can see on this one, you've got two at the bottom, two at the top. There, it's a little bit difficult to see. Got that one there, another one there, one below it, and one down in this corner. That one down the back there, I'm just going to have to do by feel. A pair of pliers on these clips. Not too much of a fan of these clips. Prefer the old Jubilee clips, so you can just undo and tighten up quite easily. Sometimes the ears for these aren't in the most convenient places and they can ping off, like so. That's it. Now I have got a seal breaker, pipe breaker somewhere, which is literally an old screwdriver that has been bent round. Not a sharp point on it, but you can sometimes, if you're lucky, get it underneath the pipe like that and sort of work your way round. Oh, that's it. Which helps you to remove the thing. This is going to gush out everywhere. All over someone's feet anyway. I mean, you can take the lower hose off and drain it. Now my axle stands in the way, so I can't get the tub directly underneath that. Made a bit of a mess. Not unlike me at all. So that's one off. I'll go ahead and tuck that down a bit out of the way. Get a bit more water everywhere. It's actually quite a useful tool for what it is. Not much space to get hold of that pipe and pull it. I think I'm going to have a bit of clearing up to do later. Never mind. Probably would have been better to pull another hose off and drain it down first, but oh well, there we go. Right, I'll grab some tools and see if we can get some bolts out. Start with the easiest one. It's the bottom two that are going to be a bit fiddly. Well, hopefully that's undone now. Got one magnet here. Yeah, that's that one. I think I'll take my watch off. Yeah, you're not really going to be able to see this, but in fact I'm not really going to be able to see it very well either. Ah, that's on there. Try not to punch anything. Always worth looking where your hand will end up if you do slip or the socket comes off. You kind of learn that over the years. Horrible to be putting a lot of pressure on that and slip and punch something sharp, but yeah, I did take that bracket off fortunately. It's the third one. There's a lot of old antifreeze over that. Now the fourth one, which I can't see at all. I think it's over there somewhere. That is actually the one you can see from underneath. Generally get away with doing them from the top. I'll just grab my torch and I might be able to see something. Oh yeah, you can just about see it. Alright, the socket is on. Okay, that's loose. My hands are too big for this. Of course, putting them back in is going to be fun as well. Right, I think that's out. Where are you? Oh, that's it. Got it. Another one covered in old antifreeze. Right, so that housing should come off now. And a bit more water on the floor. So that is actually intact. The old seal is still stuck on there. Maybe it's just the seal that's had it. Does look pretty squished. Good time now to change the thermostat. That's probably quite recommendable actually. In fact, I might recommend that to the customer, that we put a thermostat in there while this is apart. Certainly would make sense. Right, some of you may notice the water pump has changed. I've actually taken the opportunity while this is all apart to do the cam belt kit. That was due up on this car anyway. Well, it's actually overdue. But anyway, that was a completely different job. Just easier to do with the alternator and everything off. So back to our job in hand. I have ordered a thermostat, so we're going to take that one out, which you should be able to get it out with a screwdriver. Probably destroy it as well. Oh, it's quite seized in there. Oh, here it comes. Oh, the seal's come off. That's on the floor somewhere. Oh, I'll find that later. Yeah, it's just dropped down on the floor. So, the new thermostat, you should be able to get one of these for around £10. Actually comes with the other seal, which the housing, I believe, has already got one in there. It should be the same anyway. Yeah. I think I'll leave the one in there that it's come with. That's fine. They've got a little jiggle pin in there, which it's just there to let the air out of the system. So when you do fit this back in, make sure the jiggle pin is right at the top. Make sure that's clean as well, as clean as you can get it anyway. Just going to give the surface a light scrape off with a blade. Let's get any debris off of there. A bit awkward to do from this angle. that feels fine. Right. So thermostat goes in that way round, jiggle pin at the top. Now that, I'm not sure that's the right thermostat. I'm going to have to check with the supplier about that. That doesn't seem good to me. The other one was a nice tight fit in there. Well, I'll come back to you shortly. So having taken time to find the seal, which I dropped, you can see the difference there. The thermostat itself is definitely the correct one, exactly the same size. It's just the aftermarket seal isn't quite as thick as the original one. And having cleaned it up and had a look at it, I'm pretty confident that's good to go again, that seal. And I'd feel better about using that one actually. It's a much snugger fit than this one. So we're going to go ahead and refit it with the original seal on it. There we go. That's definitely a better fit. So next we'll get the housing on, the new housing. So everything's clean, the thermostat is in place with the jiggle pin at the top. You can see on here the gasket on this half, it's protruding out by a few millimetres. This side is flat, so that will be bolting tight against the thermostat seal, which again is protruding out by a couple of millimetres. So it all should be good. It's just a bit fiddly, as you can imagine, to get this all back in and being able to record it so you can see what's going on. I'll lay that there. Sadly, there's only one bolt, which you can clearly see. Main thing is not to do them up tight at this point, just so you can move things around and line it all up. Right, I think that's in. A little bit so I can move it around still. Right, the bottom two. So obviously I can't get my fingers in there. That's not going to stay in the socket by itself, so I'm just going to use a bit of blue road tissue to kind of wedge it in there. And hopefully that will hold on to it for me while I try and line it up. Might not be successful first time, but we'll give it a go. Well, that'll do for now for that one. A little bit of tissue there, but that should drop out the bottom. Same again, a bit more tissue. Sounds like we've got a bit of aircraft outside, stunting around. Right, I'll leave that on there and get my ratchet. Right, that's that one done up. I'll get that bit of blue roll off it in a moment. That's it. This one. And the final one. We'll crack on that with that in a moment. Right, just double check them. So that one's tight. One with a bit of blue roll on it. Yeah, that's tight. Top one on there, tight. And that one. Yep, they're all tight, great. Okay, I'll knock that bit of blue roll off and I think we can put the pipes on next. Right, so I've got these two hoses to go back on, which I'll tuck down there. That's one. Oh, I'll get that clamp on. Hopefully it won't ping off. Oops. Try leaving the ears at the top. I think I need to take the vehicle up slightly to lower the engine a bit. That's it. That's it, both hoses on. You've got a little, like a white T, upside down T on there, which is where the clamp fits up to, the edge of that T. You know then it's over the end of the plastic housing where it flares out. So with that all connected, next we'll get the alternator back in. Right, so now we're at the stage where we can get this alternator back in. So we've got the one bolt hole down the bottom there. Got that multi-plug to go back on here, which should just push on and click. That's it. Now the bolt at the bottom, there's that 15mm one there with a washer on it. And again, you don't really want to be doing that uptight because you're going to have a wrestle with the stretch belt in a moment. I've got a bit of a technique to getting those on, which hopefully will work. Right, so that's on there loosely. Make sure that's on all pulleys. Right, then we just need to get this in place, which is tricky, but can be done. I'll just get my big pry bar, wherever that is. So you can kind of hook it on that lug and push this in place. You're probably not officially meant to do it this way, but it does work sometimes. But it is a fiddle. Struggling a bit. Right, I'm going to have a little fiddle around with this and come back to you shortly. So yeah, that was a bit fiddly, mainly because these aircon pipes are here. Maybe they've always been routed that way on all these Fiestas, but I don't recall struggling like that before. Usually you can put your pry bar against here and lean it up against that. Just get it so it's behind that bit that sticks out that lug, which helps you push it that way, and you can lever it in or out. However, this one was a bit more fiddly, but we got there. It just took the two of us, one to hold the alternator in place and the other to line the bolts up. So we're just doing these up now. You can get a special tool for fitting those stretchy belts. I believe it mounts over here, over this water pump pulley, and it kind of feeds the belt on as you turn the engine over. It's all a bit fiddly to do. However, I don't have one of those tools. Normally manage fine. And got to make sure that bottom bolt is tight. That's it. Right. I think next we'll get that live wire back on the alternator. Right, I'll take this tape and rubber boot off. Okay, that's back in there. Uh, 10mm. Little cap on there. Okay, so that's that bit done. I think we'll take the ramp up, get the engine level, and get the mount on next. Alright, let's get this mount back in. Oh, I'm not forgetting, I've also got that bracket to bolt back in, which I took off. I'll do this first. Right, I'll grab my gun and get those done up. You can see roughly where the bolt heads were. I'll try and get it all back in the same position that it came apart in. I will grab my bar and just double check the tightness of those. Pretty sure they are fine, but yeah, lovely. So that means now I can raise the ramp slightly and pull that axle stand back out. Next we'll, I think we'll get this little bracket in next before I forget. Right, so this fits up underneath the engine mount. In hindsight, would have probably been better to fit this on first. I'm sure we'll manage. Grab my ratchet. That's it. Yep, that's in place. So we'll, I think next we will get the expansion tank back in. So, as we said earlier, this one's got a small split in it, Unfortunately, I can't get a new one today. They're not too bad of a job to change anyway, so he'll be back at a later date. We have actually covered that on another video. I believe it was on a Fiesta as well, actually. That had a split. I think it was up the top here, and the cap also. That's something to bear in mind because that can leak as well. That's got a seal in it, which can give way. So just all little things to keep in mind. But as I say, the other video covers a replacement of one of these. Right, got a clip here that's fallen down the pipe. And we should have a 10mm bolt for there. I've slid down that bit on the peg that sticks out. And we've got this pipe here, which I believe it should be on that side of there. That's it. I'll leave that off for now, because we need to get this power steering bottle back in. Right, so that pipe goes around and in there, this side of that hole, which this peg locates in, and it also clips on down here. And if you remember, I did cut off a cable tie, which I will need to replace as well. That's it, that's home. That's clipped in. So I need to fiddle a cable tie through this chassis leg out the bottom and round, just as a precautionary measure to hold the pipe away from the drive belts. I can also plug this back on now. Just clips on. Looks like it goes under there as well. That's it. Right, I'll grab some cable ties and have a fiddle around with that. Right, I've got two cable ties joined together. These aren't very long, and I think I'm going to have to join a third one once I get it through the chassis leg. So I think that's gone through now. Let's see if I can join that on the bottom and connect them together. Right, I've managed to join another cable tie to the one that was sticking through the bottom, so I've just got to zip them together now. Easier said than done. Gotcha. That's it. Doesn't have to be really tight, it's just like a secondary measure in case that clip there fails. Stop it from chafing on the belt. Right, okay. So that's in place. Nothing's likely to rub on the belt. I think we're okay now to get the headlight back in. So we'll start by plugging it back in. Yeah, that's a positive click. I think I'll put that side in first. This is going to be a bit of a wriggle. Not quite right. Ah, that felt better. There was the little plastic peg, if you remember, that sticks out of the wing, and then you've got a slot on the lamp which it needs to slide onto. So that's gone in nicely. You can see the difference that makes just putting this in. Covers everything over. Right, and clip this grill back on. Oh, that side's missing anyway. That's it. All back in place. I guess we better get some coolant in it next. Right, this is the 2nd litre of concentrated antifreeze I'm putting in. Generally these hold around about 6 litres of coolant in total, and the mixture is 50-50 water and antifreeze. Being as I've drained most of it but not all of the coolant doing the work I've done, I'm just putting in 2 litres of fresh antifreeze and going to top up with water, just normal tap water. And hopefully there won't be anything dripping underneath. Well, not from the thermostat or water pump, anyway. Right, so I'll leave the cap off and we'll start it up and let it tick over for a little while, and hopefully there won't be any leaks. So I'll leave the cap off generally just to, as the water's circulating, you will get air bubbles coming out, little air locks where the cooling system's been dismantled. That can take a while. I'd probably leave it running for 5 or 10 minutes like this, then put the cap on it, take it for a run, let it cool down. Generally the next day I like to come out to it, take the cap off, and you will find that the fluid level would have dropped down quite a bit overnight as the air's come out by itself. Yeah, so we'll let that run for a little while and then we'll take it up in the air, have a look and refit the bottom pulley plastic shield. Back underneath the car, you can see wet staining, but that's obviously where I made such a mess earlier, draining it. You can just about see the new thermostat housing up here above the air conditioning pump with the manky old bolt heads. That all looks dry around there, so that's good. You can also see that water pump, as I was explaining earlier, the other job which I done while it was in bits anyway. So all that's left now to refit that bottom pulley cover, splash shield, whatever you like to call it. So yeah, Torque's 30 bolts, or you can just use a flat blade screwdriver, as they've got a slot in them as well. Something I didn't say earlier about the antifreeze it's important to make sure you put the same colour antifreeze in that it's already got in the system. You can't mix red and blue. Doesn't have very good results apparently. Somebody told me once it'll congeal and go to like a wallpaper paste state. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. You can actually buy antifreeze which is compatible with any vehicle, or so they say, and it will mix with any other antifreeze, but generally, as a rule, make sure you put back in the same colour that came out. Right, with that shield refitted, all that's left to do now, as I do with most of my jobs, drop it down, take it for a little spin, bring it back and check and make sure there's no leaks. Apart from that, all is good. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a little trickle from that expansion tank, but as I say, I can't get one today, and we will have it back in for that. Thanks for watching. If you find our videos helpful, please hit like and subscribe to help us out. Nice one.